This is Tony Mike Garvin coming to you from Chicago as usual, and I've gotten a lot of requests to do an overview of the Kim Blandino trial. It's what I'm going to do right here. It's going to be very short. If you want the longer version, I've got a playlist. I'll put links to that in the description below. It's called Kim Blandino, Vexatious Litigant. It begins long before the trial, and there's a lot of material as the trial progresses. But I just wanted to do a brief overview because a lot of people asked me to do it, and it's kind of fun and just sort of hit the highlights. The idea is to just get the whole story very fast. Let's do it. All right, the background is Kim Blandino was found guilty of a traffic citation by a pro tem judge, Mr. Federico, and he really just couldn't let it go. He appealed it and lost, and when that didn't work, he then went after the judge. He was charged with extortion and impersonating an officer because he kept telling people, including during the trial, that he was a volunteer associated with this organization that investigates judges' bad behavior.
And you're here for the case of State of Nevada versus Kim Blandino. At the heart of this case, this is about the rule of law.
So Kim's attorney encounters with my client, who, by the way, Kim won't cooperate with, is just sort of a misguided but harmless person.
I'll tell you that Mr. Blandino is quixotic, right? What? You know, what does that word mean, right? Here's the definition. It's sort of foolishly impractical, especially in the pursuit of ideals, right? It's used for someone that's sort of innocently idealistic, possessed with some sort of romantic optimism. Comes from Don Quixote.
Did I forget to mention that Kim showed up in his best t-shirt?
And circumstantial evidence in deciding this case. The law permits you to give equal weight to both, but it is for you to decide how much weight to give.
So the state put on their case, and that was primarily Mr. Federico. And here's a little bit of his testimony where, it goes on for a long time, but basically he gets the point across. Long after the fact, he's inappropriately harassing me about a decision I made in traffic court.
And so in getting that note and reading it, what did it make you think was happening here in this situation?
Seemed like somebody's coming for me. I had to be concerned. Somebody came to the private law office that unannounced. Nobody does way out on the northwest side of town. He's writing threats to me. Nothing sounded proper or appropriate. And this is highly unusual. I'm not talking to any defendant about any kind of case. What does he want me to do? Change a ruling or something? I'm like, it's so out of the box as far as ethics. That was my mental impression at that point.
And so you indicated that you notified your wife. You had worries related to your family and your personal life in that moment?
Well, I didn't know if this guy was going to show up at the house or whatever. We have 6 children. At that point they were all 14 and under. And, I have a family to protect. If somebody's coming after me, I'm going to have to figure out what to do, properly.
The state eventually rests their case, and Kim makes the horrible decision of taking the stand against advice from his attorney. And this is a bit facetious. I took this clip from Old Squishy Gardner, but I think it's a better summation of his testimony than any other clip I can find.
My life is not about what I want. It's what God wants me to do. Oh, no. Because I think you're trying to trick me. No, that's not true. He had slapped me in the face. Judge, I'm having trouble understanding something here. That doesn't seem fair to me. Maybe I missed something.
And don't forget to hit like and subscribe, or the dogs get it.
Meanwhile, the courtroom antics started to get kind of strange. I have to give credit to Kick, or Keeping It Criminal, for this little clip. So moving along to closing arguments, the other prosecutor gets a chance to give an argument, and I think she delivers a great line right here.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for being here for the last 10 days. I know it has been a little longer than everyone expected, but we appreciate you being here and listening to all the evidence. So as Mr. Dickerson stated when he made his opening statement, this case is about the rule of law. This case is about the judicial process and the authority the courts have over individuals. However, this case is also the rule of law against the rule of Blandino. Mr. Blandino wants to subvert the rule of law to accommodate his own desire for control and power over the courts.
Mr. Blandino's attorney responds to that with a nice closing argument, which is consistent with his opening argument. But when Mr. Dickerson gets up to deliver a rebuttal, things start to get weird.
The sacrifice that I spend in time, inconvenience, and discomfort? I mean, definitely putting himself out to be a martyr, but if you aren't doing it, if you aren't having fun, you aren't doing it right. He's doing it because he's having fun. And then it goes further. In that April 25th, 2019 letter, it wasn't just about this.
I'm sorry, I gotta stop. He's not supposed to be like this. He's trying to calm me.
Stop.
He's trying to calm me, Judge.
Stop.
Blandino?
No, I would ask, can you invite Mr. Dickerson to not approach the defense table? I'm sorry.
Okay.
If he can stay.
He's trying to calm me, Judge.
Stop talking.
Purposely. He knows he's trying to calm me.
Stop.
This is improper, and I'm making a bar complaint against you. I'm making a bar complaint against you, Mr. Dickerson. I will get these jabs, and I will make a bar complaint against you.
Mr. Blandino, stop.
If I would have done this, you would have told me immediately not to do that.
Completely and totally inappropriate.
It's inappropriate for him to come here multiple times, and you know that, Judge.
He's in the well. He is permitted to walk around the well.
You would not let me do that if I were representing myself.
Stop.
If I were going over to the prosecution.
I'm sorry. Look, I was just asking, Your Honor,
Okay,
he could be,
we're
if
going
he
to
doesn't.
take a recess. During this recess, you're
I
allowed not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication, or social media, read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case, doing research, such as consulting dictionaries, using the internet, or using reference materials, make any investigation, test theory of the case, recreating the aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form express any opinion regarding the case till it's finally submitted to you. We'll be in recess, and Officer Knox will let you know when we're ready.
Thank you. All rights for the next few jurors, sure.
Blandino, it is completely and totally inappropriate for you to lash out and scream at the prosecutor while he's doing his closing argument. Totally inappropriate. If you don't like something, tell your attorney.
I told my attorney 3 times that he cannot do that
and
either.
he will raise it with the court.
He did not,
Okay?
and I had
He's
to raise
in the
it, Judge.
well. He can walk around in the well if he wants to.
When
Okay,
I had
I'm
my
not sure
when I
what
had my
it is.
trial in the 1990s, I tried to walk around and Judge Moppin, he said, you can't walk around, you gotta stand at the table. And you wouldn't have, if I were representing myself, you would not allow me to go over to the prosecution table. I know that for a fact, and if you're in your heart, you advocate the truth,
Stop
you'd say that's
pointing at
true.
me.
You know that's true.
Stop shouting at me.
I'm sorry. A little bit heated, I
No,
apologize.
you're completely and totally out of control. It's not
No.
heated. It is completely and totally out of control. Okay? I'd like to bring the jury back in so Mr. Dickerson can conclude his closing?
If he would-
Can you control yourself? Because if not, I'll just
I
remove
will,
you from
I
the
will,
courtroom.
I'm sorry, I apologize, but if he can agree not to come over here.
No, he doesn't have to agree with you about anything.
He said he would just a minute ago.
He doesn't have to agree with you about anything. If you can control yourself, you will be taken out of the courtroom
Okay, I
so that the
apologize.
prosecutor can conclude
I
with his
apologize.
closing.
I apologize.
Can
I'm
you
sorry.
control yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, because if I just made, he's saying that I wouldn't make the objection. The third time he came over, he said, you know, I don't know what he did, he was turning or whatever to Mr. Dickerson, asked me to say, you asked him not to come over here, I was going to object or ask your honor to have him not approach the defense table because he can't seem to control himself and he was turning. So I was not, and then he just started looking. So I was intending to ask your honor if he could not approach the defense table when this was, whatever this was happening.
I've never seen anything like this. This is just completely and totally inappropriate. He's in the well. I mean, you can't control
Why wasn't I
yourself
told about that?
because the district attorney is walking around giving his closing argument.
Why is he getting that close to the table,
Like I
Judge?
said, if you cannot control yourself, you will be taken out of the courtroom so Mr. Dickerson can conclude. Do you understand what's gonna happen? You can't scream at people in the courtroom.
That's my normal voice.
It's screaming.
I can't whisper,
Okay, that's a normal voice right there.
yeah, I'm kind of.
Okay, when you start screaming at people in the middle of the closing argument, it's totally inappropriate. You realize the jury just saw what you did?
I know they saw that.
That's not good for you. I'm just here to tell
I
you.
know that.
That is not good for you.
That's why he was taunting me.
So-
He wanted a reaction. He wanted a
So
reaction.
Mr.
and he got it.
Dickerson owns you? Okay.
No, he
So
wanted
his
to do it.
behavior dictates how you behave.
That was taunting.
Okay,
That was
he was
taunting.
not taunting you. That is ridiculous.
No, it is not.
Can you control yourself so I can bring the
Yes, I
jury
can.
back in?
I can.
Okay, have a seat.
Thank you.
You can bring the jury back in.
But Kim Blandino isn't done yet. When the prosecutor gets going again and he doesn't like what he has to say, he has a water spill. I'll leave it up to you whether or not you think that was intentional. Tell me in the comments below.
Already committed extortion by this point in time. That's not what he said. When given the open-ended question of what's it going to take to get you out of my hair, Mr. Blandino says, at minimum, it's going to require an apology in a public forum. And the other things, I'm going to have to think about those. I'm going to have to take some time to think about it, and I'll get back to you. Because there were always other things. How far can he take this? Mr. Blandino, how far could you take it? Well, that's why we know. We look at this defense that Mr. Blandino has proffered, entrapment. This is an affirmative defense where he bears the burden of producing evidence of governmental instigation. The government hasn't instigated Mr. Blandino to do anything. All of his actions here today, his actions there on April 8th, 2019, on April 25th, 2019, on April 29th, 2019, on May 2nd and May 3rd, and May 16th, and May 9th, 2019. All of those were his own actions. Just as much as him jumping up in the courtroom today and yelling were his own actions.
I spilled water myself. I'm sorry.
And so we look at that. Defendant bears the burden of producing evidence of governmental instigation. They have not shown governmental instigation. Nonetheless, the only way that you even reach the other considerations.
Well, thankfully, they did come to a verdict in this case, and I'm going to show it to you here.
Please come to order. Court is now in session.
Does the state stipulate to the presence of the jury panel
We do, Your Honor.
and the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
Mr. Romero, have you been selected to be the foreperson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Will you please hand the verdict form to Officer Hawks? Okay, the clerk will now read the verdict out loud. If the defendant and his attorney will please stand for the reading of the verdict.
District Court, Clark County, Nevada, State of Nevada, plaintiff versus Kim Dennis Blandino, defendant, case number C341767, department number 12, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant, Kim Dennis Blandino, as follows. Count 1, extortion, guilty of extortion. Count 2, impersonation of an officer, guilty of impersonation of an officer. Dated this 9th day of March 2022. Signed by foreperson Anthony Romero. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is the server just read, so say you one, so say you all?
Yes.
Okay, does either side wish to have the jury panel polled? Mr. Dickerson?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Bateman?
I don't normally do this, but yes, Judge, I'll ask you.
Absolutely.
Here at Law Talk, we like to have fun with silly stuff that happens in court, and every once in a while, and completely by accident, I assure you, you might learn something. Thanks for watching.